Hello, hello, and welcome back to Bearing Birth, a birth story podcast highlighting the emotional impact of birth, the immediate postpartum period, and the years beyond. I'm Jordan, a doula specializing in postpartum support.
And I'm Sophie, a perinatal mental health therapist. Today we have part 2 with my good friend Britnee.
In part 1, Britnee shared the journey of her pregnancy and how she prepared for a home birth with a male midwife. In this episode, Britnee brings us into her powerful labor story, starting with drinking the midwife's brew to kick things off, navigating hours of intense back labor, and delivering her baby in the most unexpected place.
Britnee's vivid storytelling brings humor, vulnerability, and realness to her birth experience. She also opens up about her postpartum journey, bedsharing with her son, and the transformation into motherhood, including identity shifts and navigating work-life balance.
Some topics and themes that come up in our conversation include home birth, tearing, blood loss, prodromal labor, painful fundal massage, and hemorrhoids.
We are so grateful to Britnee for sharing her story with us. Thank you for joining us and enjoy part 2 of our conversation with Britnee.
A doula and a therapist are sitting down to talk about birth. A doula and a therapist are sitting down to talk about birth.
So I just tried to stay really positive, and it's I have my people, and I tried to do just as much preparation as I could without going overboard.
That's always such a fine line.
Yeah, definitely. I had this birthing binder, and I'm gonna write everything out, and I'm going to have 5 different birth plans, and one birth plan if I have to go to the hospital, and a birth plan for home. And then I was I'm not even gonna think about the worst case scenario or having to go to the hospital. I'm just not even gonna let that come into my mind. I'm just gonna say no, that's not happening. I'm only going to prepare for exactly what I want, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it ended up going smoothly. Yeah, I didn't want to think of the what ifs, and then yeah.
And then you ended up having this really amazing birth experience. I mean, videographers, people who are good at that can make it seem a certain way, but was it also like that? It felt...
Yeah, it's so, yes, definitely. It's so, crazy to watch that video, because I think when I was going through it, I was so in my own, in my head. I was not present for everybody that was there, which was Bradley, my mom, 2 midwives, the assistant, and then our wedding videographer was the one that did the birth video too. And so it was
in the same year.
Yeah. Oh, we just saw you not too long ago, and we were saying our vows, and now you're here, and I'm fully naked,
so intimate,
in primal warrior mode, screaming. It was hard for me to imagine what the video was gonna look like, because I felt the whole time I was just screaming. It's so loud. Yeah. And I'm is that what the video is gonna look like?
No, it's not like that at all. It seems very peaceful and connected, and
it was like that. It was I totally just honed in on what I was doing, and everyone else kind of faded away. And yeah, there's definitely different phases, I think, because I ended up doing the midwives brew, which are you guys familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that castor oil and some herbs? Some sort of herb, yeah.
It's nasty. It was so bad. I actually threw up.
Did you drink that to kickstart labor?
Yeah, I took it at 40 weeks, right when I hit 40 weeks, because I had been going through the, labor every single night, and I'm I can't do this any longer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need something that just fully kickstarts it. So I took that, and that was on the 4th. And I ended up having him the next day on the 5th. So it definitely worked.
How gross was it?
Well, I threw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not good.
It was... Okay, so my husband made it. At first, we did it without ice cream, and my midwife said, if you can't get it down, feel free to mix some ice cream into it, and it might help you. Mm-hmm. And so he made it without ice cream. I smelled it, and I was there's absolutely no way. It doesn't even, smell edible. Because castor oil, it's
yeah, it's very thick.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's your body says no. Like your body says you're not supposed to drink
That's why
this.
it probably works to eject anything out.
Yeah, it says no when it's in there too.
Yeah, exactly. And so we mixed it with the ice cream. I drank half of it, puked. Oof. And then I was like super discouraged. I'm like, well, this isn't going to work now. And it was like midnight. And he's like, that was only half of it. Like, you didn't even drink the whole thing. And I said, I can't. I'm going to bed. Like, never mind. And then I woke up at 3 a.m. with contractions that I couldn't sleep through. And Willie had flipped sunny side up. And so I went through a lot of back labor, probably like 10 to 12 hours of back labor, which was excruciating. Luckily, my midwife had me do these like different positions to kind of get him like lifted back up and then flipped back around. So once that finally worked and he was in like the right spot, it went a lot faster.
Oh, wow. That's amazing that he was able to help you through that.
Yeah, I'm super lucky that like he knew what to do and it wasn't just like, well, now we're at like a standstill, like nothing's happening. It felt very productive, I feel like, the whole time. And my husband had to like consistently give me, is it sacral pressure, like right on the tailbone, constantly. Like if he lifted up for like 1 second, like I could not handle it.
That was during the back labor?
It was like the whole time. Yeah, it was like either like my hips or like right on the tailbone needed like a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
And I think that we did that for like, hours and hours and hours and hours. And it was crazy.
He must have been exhausted as well
afterwards. Yeah, he told me that he was like, his like inner voice was like, I can't do this like one more second. But he like didn't have a choice.
Did. Yeah. I mean, that's probably what a lot of people think during labor too.
Yeah.
For someone who hasn't experienced back labor, how would you describe it other than just like pain in your back?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. It felt like...
Do you remember?
It felt like I was paralyzed and my bones were being like gnashed together. Like bone on bone friction. And I like could not move at all.
So the pressure, did that like help your bones like separate a little bit maybe? Like you weren't feeling that pain?
Yeah, we learned about it in this birthing class that we took, where if you give pressure, it kind of like widens the hip or the birthing canal. And so you don't feel that it's really like Willie's head, like his skull against the pelvic bone.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. It was, I'm like, I guess this is just what it feels like. I didn't really know that was, like, I was experiencing back labor until the midwife came and was like, oh, okay, like, he actually flipped. Because for majority of my pregnancy, he was in the perfect position. And I was like, I guess I just got really lucky. Like, hopefully he stays like this. And then...
He likes to surprise you.
Yeah.
Like it.
Definitely.
Being at home, you obviously have a lot more limited, what's the word I'm looking for? Like ways to intervene with pain management. At any point, did you feel like you regretted being at home, or you like wish you had more options to help with the pain, or it was just like you're in your space, you had what you needed, you knew that you could like get through it?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of research on alternatives to pain meds, like homeopathy and different, like pressure points, different positions, just, all different kinds of like what are the alternatives basically. And we tried to just get as many as possible. And I think that I definitely hit a point when I was like in transition where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I understand why people get pain meds, because it's like if you're in that bad of pain, and they're readily available, and these people are like, we can take it away.
Yeah.
And like, why wouldn't you say yes? You know, it's like, it almost like goes against like your human nature to be like, oh no, it's fine. Like, I'll just keep going through this even though I feel like I'm gonna die.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I think that I can totally like understand why that happened, but I was glad that I pushed through.
Do you think
And
that if
yeah.
it was available, you would have taken it?
It's hard to say. I told Bradley and my mom, like, whatever happened, do not let me, like, just do not let it happen.
You had talked
basically.
about it before.
Yeah, I was like, I'm probably going to hit a point where I'm like, just give me anything to help me feel better and don't do it. I'm like, yeah. So, yeah,
And you
I mean,
made it through.
it didn't hit that point. I think it was like, honestly, probably like a few minutes before he was born is like when I hit that point, and I like was telling my mom, like, I don't think I can do it any longer. I can't do this. And she was like, yes, you can. Like, you're so close.
I hear a lot of stories where midwives or doctors will like kind of smile at each other when someone says I can't do it anymore, because it often means it's just like you're so close to being done.
Yeah. The what is it called? The
Transition.
Ring of Fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
We even learned about that in our birthing class. It was like, if you think you can't do it any longer, you're going to see your baby in like the next 5 minutes.
So what was it like seeing Willie for the first time? Like what position were you in? How did you...
Yeah. So like I was saying, I thought I was going to have a water birth and be in the tub. But every time I got in the tub, I couldn't bear down as much as I felt like I needed to in order to push. And so I tried a bunch of different positions, and it just was not working. I like didn't feel like I was grounded enough. And so I actually was in the position that I had him in for a while in the tub, and my midwife was like, this isn't working, like you're not progressing. So you need to try to switch it up. Which I kind of wonder now looking back, like if I just like listened to my intuition and just kept going, like if I would have just had him in that position, because ultimately that is the same position that I was in outside of the tub. But I listened and I was like, okay, we just need to kind of like mix it up and hopefully it'll come soon. And so I ended up getting out because it just didn't really feel like that was working and I wasn't super comfortable. The best position was sitting on the toilet for me.
Backwards or forward?
Forward, like I was just taking a big poop. I'm like, this like is, you know, like comfortable and it makes sense.
Your body recognizes
yeah,
it
exactly.
as the space
Exactly.
for bearing down.
Yeah. And so I had a little squatty potty and
Love a squatty potty.
I sat on the toilet, had my feet up on the squatty potty, and then Bradley was like in front of me. I'm trying to remember. I think he was in front of me facing me, and I was grabbing onto his head. And he multiple times, like after I gave birth, obviously, he told me like, I thought you were gonna like kill me.
Can you imagine if he just passed out?
He's like, I couldn't breathe.
Oh, the strength you probably had there too.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Just like my arms like wrapped around his head.
Wow.
It's just like I gotta hold my breath a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I was on the toilet and I could feel him coming out.
Oh wow.
And I told the midwife, and so he came in and checked, and he's like, we're having a baby. Like, he could feel his head. And he's like, you probably want to get off the toilet. And so I got down on my hands and knees on my bathroom floor, and then I actually was leaning up against the bathtub. And
was it hard to move with him so far? Like,
yeah, I think that was like, I didn't want to chance like moving too much to where he was going to get sucked back in. And so I was like very carefully like going
Back in.
so I like I went down carefully and then was like leaning up against the toilet or the bathtub, and Bradley was behind me, and he was the one that caught Willie.
Oh.
We had the midwife was in there, and then we have a tiny bathroom too.
Yeah, I
and
was wondering if
everyone was
everyone
kind
was
of
like-
just like, yeah, like peeking in, like trying to see. I think my mom actually got into the bathtub, and so she kind of like saw things from like a backwards view of my face and Bradley's face. And yeah, we got like a bunch of pictures of it. It was pretty awesome.
Is this part in your video too?
Yeah, like Willie's head coming through and then just his head sticking out like through what that was one contraction, and then just waiting and just having him like halfway, or not even halfway, like a third through, like into the world, you know? Like he's
Yeah.
there but he's not fully there.
What did that feel
And I
like?
could like feel his face and his hair, and I mean it was incredible. It was not like anything I could have ever imagined experiencing. I'm like, that's my baby's face.
Like, here, but
I
not
really
fully.
did it. Yeah, and it's like I think that's like the moment too when I realized like I did it, and
You made
this
it.
is real. I made it. Yeah, and then it was just one more contraction, and the rest of his body came out, and I lost a ton of blood. And so initially, I was kind of like out of it. I looked like a ghost, like in all the pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, I do remember that.
that was kind of crazy. I do not look okay. But yeah, I mean, I was just like staring into his eyes and kissing him, and oh, it was awesome.
Like this.
I like, yeah, it's like I couldn't believe it at first. Like, and then they wanted me to walk into my room after I just lost that much blood and lay down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can even walk. Like, I think I was like shaking. and-
Oh.
yeah, I don't know why I ended up losing so much blood too.
What did
They
the
didn't really,
midwives
like-
do to manage that?
They gave me Pitocin afterwards just to help not, lose any more. But it kind of like everything came out with him.
Oh, okay.
So it was just kind of like a sudden, like,
Where did you deliver your placenta? In bed?
in bed. Yeah, that was the thing too. I was like, yes, like I did it. I birthed him. I have my baby here now. Like I'm on cloud 9. And then I get into bed and they're like, oh, now you have to birth your placenta. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's more.
It's like life's cruel joke.
Yeah, and what did the other midwife? She was so funny. She was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna give you like a little massage." I'm like, "This is the worst massage I've ever gotten."
They needed
The fundal massage.
Yeah, they need to change the name
I'm
of
like,
that.
why do they call this a massage? Like this is torture.
Oh. Like while you're bonding with your brand new baby.
Yeah.
Let me just hurt you.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she kind of like pulled it out too. Yeah, fundal massage needs a new name.
And you said she kind of pulled it out?
Yeah, I heard that like you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed
Your
to.
mom did?
No, not my mom. The other midwife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that too, but I mean, I'm not a midwife, so
Yeah,
can't
I
say.
feel like there was a reason for it, and I think it might have been because of like the blood loss or something. She's like, I just need to like help with it. Yeah, we like waited until all of the blood had left the placenta before we
to
cut
cut
it.
the cord.
And so I just got my time with Willie and
Aw.
snuggled and
So you really made
was in
it
bliss.
once the placenta was out. Then you really made it.
well, no, because then I had to get stitched up. And so after that happened, then I was like, okay.
A few extra steps you weren't planning on, but
Yeah.
What was that? Did you have
It was
shot of
gnarly.
Pitocin, or was it an IV?
It was a shot. I don't even remember it, to be honest. But I didn't have an IV. It was definitely a shot. Yeah. So I had a 3rd-degree tear.
oh,
Yeah. And my midwife was like, I knew you were going to tear. I'm like, cool.
add that to the list of like things you didn't need to say.
How did you know?
He said that when he did like the first cervical exam, he's like, I knew that you were going to tear. I'm like, cool. Cool.
Did things heal up okay?
Yeah.
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 It adds like a not fun element to the
Yeah,
healing
I think
process.
that in my mind, I was just like, I'm just going to let everything like heal naturally, and just because I had heard that that's the best way to do it, is just to let your body like mend itself and just take care of it, obviously, and like get as much nutrients and stuff to like kind of promote like healing of it, but not to do like the whole stitching and everything. But then my midwife was like, third degree, like we want to make sure everything goes back together correctly. And yeah, he's like, I highly recommend doing it. And he said I could go into the hospital or he could do it right there in bed. I'm like, well, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm like, I just gave birth and like,
Sure, let's pack up.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we're staying here. So yeah, he did it in bed. And I always have weird experiences with getting numbing. Like it's either way too much or not enough. And so I was a little bit worried about that. I'm like, I just like already did all of this, went through all of this pain, and now there's even more to look forward to. And yeah, I think that he had to give me like way more than normal because he kept doing the little like prick. Can you feel this? I'm like, yep. Like over and over and over. And so it was very nerve-wracking.
Oh. And you're probably trying to like enjoy this time with Willie and like start breastfeeding, right? And then meanwhile there's this.
Yeah, I think that happened. I think that might have happened before. Like I feel like we did all of the like fun, like, you know, like did the like breastfeeding, and then
it wasn't
we
rushed.
did like, yeah, we did like his weight and height, and Bradley got to do their bonding time. And actually I think they did their bonding time when I was getting stitched.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't like rushed. You know, you still had to have the experience.
It was crazy how quickly time went by because I had him at 10:16, and then by the time everyone left, it was like almost 3 a.m. and it felt like it was like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Everyone, like, they cleaned everything up for me and like threw everything in the wash, and it was really awesome. So we didn't have to like deal with any of that stuff. Yeah. And then I just ended up going to sleep like right after everyone left.
And then you woke up and there's this baby next to you. What was that like?
The first couple of days I was super nervous about him being in bed because it's like he's so tiny. But I knew that I wanted to bed share. And so I had him on this little pillow. And so I knew that he couldn't like go anywhere. Like he was right there. And he did not like it at all.
Did he want to be snuggled up right next to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so... What?
Do you remember
Are you talking about the pillow?
Yeah, so many
That was not your
newborns. It's like in those first couple of days, so many newborns are just unhappy unless they're attached to you the whole, like, forever.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't even know. It might have not even been like 2 nights. And I was like, I don't think that he likes the pillow. Like, it's close, but it's not close enough. And my mom's like, just don't use it. Just like, he's gonna be fine. Just tuck him into your side and trust me, like, you'll be okay. And then as soon as we did that, he's been there ever since.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like
he
you
does
gained
great.
some confidence too, and that felt right to you, and that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I kind of knew that that's what I wanted, but also I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm responsible for this tiny little human, and I don't want anything to happen to him. And how can I know that that's not going to happen when I'm sleeping?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you just don't know the extent of your intuition yet because you've never experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, once you kind of gain a little bit more confidence, then
It's easier to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
How were your hormones afterwards? What did you think about? What were you feeling? Did you have any weird dreams?
I don't remember any dreams. I definitely had some like pretty like intense anxiety about just like everything that could possibly harm him, like in any given situation. Which it's like thinking back about it, it's like nothing. You know, everything just looks like a threat when you're a new mom.
Yeah, and your brain is like recalibrating to like assess threats for someone other than yourself now.
Yeah, totally. I think that that's always like a little bit alarming.
Yeah,
I mean,
of
I've
course.
like talked about it with Sophie, other moms. It's like oh my gosh, why am I having these thoughts?
Yeah, intrusive
seems
thoughts.
scary.
Yeah.
They happen to most people in postpartum, at least a little bit, but it's normal. Like,
Yeah, I think it's designed to protect you.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
trying to protect the baby. So your
Oh,
brain
definitely.
is kind of giving you all of these scenarios that you need to watch out for to keep you hyper alert.
Yeah, because it's like the protection is like still there, like that intuition of like knowing what is okay and what isn't for your child. But when you first have them,
Oh, really? What are you looking at? Bernie. What is he doing?
oh, he likes any old man with white hair. Because my grandpa.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think that it's totally normal, and then it just like kind of regulates a little bit more.
Yeah.
like as you progress into motherhood. But for the most part, I feel like I did pretty well. I ended up eating my placenta.
How did you eat it?
My husband, like, I don't even know what he did, to be honest. Prepared it. And like cut it in. He like cut it up into like tiny chunks and froze it. And then I would have like a smoothie every day.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And you couldn't taste it at all. But yeah, I don't know if it's hard to know. It's like, did that help my mood? Or was I just like, really good about taking my electrolytes and all of my like prenatals and supplements, and that helped? Or maybe a little bit of everything working together.
It feels right.
Yeah,
I think that's how all supplements feel. It's like, how do we know?
Yeah, I know, right?
My doctor says, but
I was very emotional. Like, I think it would kind of just like come in waves, and I would just like cry in happiness. And like, I just can't even believe that I'm a mom now, and I have this like amazing little guy. And yeah, just thinking about like how happy I am, to be in that place.
Did you feel like you were able to get enough sleep in early postpartum because you bed shared? I hear that sometimes that makes
I
a
feel
big
like that
difference.
made a huge difference. He slept pretty much through the night since the beginning. And I would wake up maybe a couple times just to like relatch him, but he would just nurse throughout the night, and that's kind of what he still does.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really require me like waking up a whole lot and like staying awake, which made a big difference. There's been a couple times like when he was teething, or they go through like a couple like different sleep regressions. Yeah. And then it would be like maybe 1 or 2 days of like, okay, I did not sleep very good last night. But overall, I feel like bed sharing, is amazing for sleep.
Which helps you recover more quickly, because sleep is everything.
Yeah, and then I would just try to like sleep and snuggle with him whenever he would nap too, because it's like, what else am I going to do? I don't have anything to do. My mom was there, Bradley was there, and yeah, it's like my job was just to snuggle with Willie.
Yeah. Oh.
It was great.
And then you went back to work around month 3 or 4 or something, right? Or did you go back to work?
Yeah. Well, so I ended up getting a different job. I guess I didn't finish about that. I ended up quitting that job because it was not working during my pregnancy. And I got a different job working from home, which was like amazing. It was a total game changer, being able to stay home. Yeah, so I was working for a different company, and they knew I was pregnant as well, and they were awesome about maternity leave. I got to be off for 14 weeks.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really amazing, yeah.
And then I ended up going back only part-time.
Yeah.
And they were super understanding and flexible, so
That's what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
How was that to transition? Did you struggle with going back to work, or was there this identity shift for you?
I think in some ways it was really like good for me to go back to work, because I had been just like mainly like sitting around the house, and I'm someone that like needs to feel productive. So it kind of gave me like another like purpose or job or like thing to focus on other than just Willie. And I mean, newborns, like, they require a lot, but they also require a little. You know what I mean? It's like he was just attached to me the whole time.
He's happy as long as he's with you.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like...
It's not a lot, like, for your brain.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, okay, I can like kind of start creating more of like a routine with him, which was really helpful. Like a reason to wake up early and get my work done. And then I'd actually be like dressed and ready and feel like a human. And then when I got off, then I'd be like, okay, now everything's about like my time with Willie and what are we going to do for the day? And
yeah, it broke up your day.
Yeah. So I think it was really good in that way.
How is it going now that he's 8 months old?
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes. It's still going well. I think it's getting harder for me because it's like he's so just active and like wanting to interact with me. And I don't want to split my time up between him and work. So that's hard. And it's like he doesn't understand. Like I wake up and I have to get on my laptop and it's like I'm doing it because I'm taking care of you, but he doesn't get that. It's like, why are you on there and not paying attention to me? Like,
yeah,
he of course wants my undivided attention, and I wish that I could give that to him, but I know that we have a better situation than a lot of people, and so I just try to like stay positive about it.
Yeah, that's hard to have to think that way though, that the things that you're struggling with or wanting to be with him, to give him the things that you need to do, but you can't do those things because you have to work is hard. But then to also feel like you have to be grateful or think that that's like a lucky thing or it's a privilege. I don't know. It's like a lot to do with how this country doesn't really support this phase of life for kids and parents.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck having to work.
Yeah. No, totally. There's like not really another option. And so it's like when you can find a way to still be home and not have to find someone else to take care of your child, then it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. But like the system is so broken.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah. I mean, he's already like all over the place, which it's like good because he can just play and like, before we like hit this one phase where like he would see something that he wanted but he like couldn't go get it himself, and so like all day I would just be like taking him to like each different like individual thing, like, okay, you want that, okay, let's go over here. And
while you're trying to work,
and so now it's like, oh, he like sees the thing that he wants and he goes and plays with it, and like I can take like a little break to like, you know, have breakfast with him and still have my laptop there, but like be able to like give him my attention in these like little increments. And then it is kind of good, I think, for his like age to have, you know, like that time where he just gets the free play and does his thing.
Yeah. What's been the most surprising thing about motherhood for you?
I guess just like how naturally it came. Maybe.
Yeah. Because we have been friends, like you were one of my first friends moving to Portland almost 7-8 years ago. And then we had this big gap between hanging out. And then I saw you again after you had Willie. And I was like, yeah, this seems like it was always meant to be. It comes naturally, the role. Yeah. Taking care of him, holding him.
Yeah. Thank you. I was thinking the same thing about you actually the other day. I was like, me and Sophie were like friends, but we like didn't have kids, and like how? Like like there was something missing before. Yeah. And now it's like we hang out with like our babies. Yeah, exactly. Really, and it's fun. Like this just makes so much sense.
Yeah. I feel the same, yeah. And watching them get to hang out, these extensions of us. It's like little mini us.
It's so cool.
Yeah. It's sweet.
Watching Willie just try to just like crawl on Ruby and like give her all the love, and she's like, no, thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
We were hanging out with somebody. Was it you? Or she said to an adult recently, no, thank you. I think it was
I don't think
me,
so.
Actually. I was getting it in her personal space, and then she, no, thank you. I'm your mother. Let me get in your personal space. You've been in mine. Yeah.
No, it was so cute though. Willie's just like in awe of her and just like wants to be like best friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're playing with that? Well, I want to play with that too. Are you doing that? I want to do that.
So we have 2 more questions, but I feel like if there's anything that you want to remember.
Let me think.
I like when you ask, like, is there anything that you would want to say to yourself 10 years from now if you were listening back about, like, parenthood or your birth or anything?
Just being in this stage of life right now. Or a message to Willie if he listens to this. We can get very deep with that, but
that too, because it might sound better if you say what I just said.
I kind of like the raw realness of like we're trying to figure out how to keep Willie occupied. He has tissues that he's tearing apart. Yeah, we can hear it.
I do too, actually.
Yeah, this is just having a podcast with moms and parents with babies.
Yeah.
What do I want to tell 10-year-old Willie? I didn't realize how big of a transformation like birth is, and just like the experience of it. You know, before you go through it, it's like, yeah, you just give birth and you have a kid now. Like, I don't know. I didn't think of it as like this like sacred rebirth of yourself, and now you're a mom. It's like your entire world changes in just like an instant, and now my world is him. So everything's for Willie.
Yeah, everything you do, yeah. What parts of you prior to having Willie are still there?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's like I still feel like me, but I've like evolved into like this new like creature.
Up-leveled.
I've up-leveled into this new, exactly. And I think my perspective, it's like your perspective on everything changes. And so in some ways you're the same, but in some ways you'll never be the same. And I think anything that I miss right now during this phase that I'm in with him as an infant is like temporary. And it's more so that I'm excited about when like he gets to be older, or like, you know, he gets to experience these different things that I have like once really loved and enjoyed. Yeah. And I'll get to like introduce him to that.
Sharing the joy that you have in things with him and getting to see those things.
Yeah. And just like learning who he is as he like grows up. I'm like, my stuff, that's boring. Like I've been interested in that stuff like for a while now. Like those are my old ways. Like, what are you interested in? I want to be interested in the things that you're interested in. And like, it's like, of course there's stuff that I want to show him, but I'm more so looking forward to like what he's going to like show me.
Yeah. What if he's interested in something that, I think about this with Ruby and Johnny and I ask each other this. What if he's interested in something that you don't want him to be interested in, or that you thought is cringy? Yeah. Well,
that I thought was cringy. Like, can you give me an example of what's cringy?
Know, like the things that you define as cool when you were a teenager.
Yeah, no. I think that if anything's gonna be cringy, and I'm gonna be like, oh god, like it's gonna be like him just being me. Like the things that I liked, or the things that like I did, or like he's just gonna like totally follow in my footsteps, and I'm gonna be like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Blink-182 concert with you. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's about to give birth?
I feel like I just gave somebody advice recently, actually. What was it? I think the most important advice that you can give anyone is just to remember that this is what your body was created to do. Like, it's not some crazy thing that you need all of this intervention for. It's more so like looking inside of yourself and figuring out how to conquer it from like within rather than externally. If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, how to have that mental strength versus trying to find ways to soothe that fear and anxiety outside of you.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknown. But I feel like if you just like remind yourself that like, this is what I was meant to do. Like it's gonna be good. And even the pain, because I know a lot of people get like really freaked out about how painful it's gonna be. You're gonna be able to bear it. And it's a different kind of pain because something beautiful is coming out through it, like on the other side.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not for no reason.
Yeah.
Or a negative reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So the last question is, what is something that makes you laugh about being a parent, or your birth experience, or just anything in this stage of life?
There's so many things to choose from, I feel like.
You can say more than one.
I like the community around birth. It's like once you have given birth and you're now a mom, like anything goes, and you can just be like, yeah, my hemorrhoids were huge.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, it's like no conversation is like off the table. And there's, this whole community of people who just get it.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like you've found like a good, like you feel like you are a part of a new community now?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's so nice.
Has it been hard integrating your new identity as a mom with friends that you've had who are not in this phase of life?
Okay.
You think so? Yeah.
He's like, I get how this works now. We all talk.
Tell me about this integration.
Everything's funny.
Yeah.
Everything makes me laugh. It's like there's a new thing every day.
What is the last thing that he did that made you giggle?
It's like everything. I mean, the talking is hilarious. That came like pretty recent. And it's like if I'm on the phone with someone, then he's doing that little like, I don't even know what you call it, grunt scream. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, I need to go because I can't really hear you. Like Willie's talking. And then as soon as I hang up, he's like silent. Like he was just joining in the conversation.
Yeah. We didn't like dive super deep into like what postpartum was like. You know, we talked about how like co-sleeping was and then how it was when you went back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that sort of shifted or changed in between
During
early postpartum
postpartum?
Before going back to work that like seems
it's like
worth talking about?
I had just a ton of like small changes, I think, because I had my mom staying with me, and then my husband also had like a month, I think, off, and then he went back to work. And so I kind of had like almost these little like checkpoints of like, okay, now I have like one less person to kind of help me. So it's like, okay, now I need to start adding like making dinner to the routine or stuff that other people were kind of taking care of beforehand.
You were able to like slowly reintegrate into life.
Yeah, it was really nice because I felt like obviously when I first had him, like I was fully taken care of by everyone and I could just focus on him. And then I got to like slowly get to where we are now. And it's like almost this like weird, like you have all these first times, right? It's like your first time like taking your baby by yourself out and your first time going grocery shopping with your baby or figuring out all these different things. And now it's like it comes so naturally. I'm like, oh, we gotta go run to the store really quick or do this or do that. And it just gets like easier each time and it feels like nothing. And it's funny kind of to like think back about it and like
come so far in 8 months.
Yeah. And just like I remember when like every time I went grocery shopping, like I had him like bundled up because he couldn't sit in the cart yet. And like his car seat took up like the entire car. So yeah, it's just there's so many first times and it's like that's gonna be forever, like for the rest of my life. Yeah. I mean, people say like the postpartum period lasts like 2 years or something, and it's like I see it.
Yeah,
I get it.
It takes a long time to reacclimate as a person.
Yeah,
you know, just to so many things like being recovered, being like feeling like you're a confident parent, like.
Yeah.
You know, going to the grocery store, like there's like 100 things.
I know. And it just feels like in our society, there's like this need to like rush that and to like everything must be perfect now. And you got to be like all put together.
Get your body back.
Your body's back like better than ever. It's like, what?
Unrealistic.
Yeah. And also, why is that at the forefront of our like why is that the most important thing?
It isn't.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Going on,
Yeah. Male midwife, mom doula.
Yeah.
Homebirth.
It is kind of like a different story for sure.
I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Bearing Birth is available on all major podcast streaming services. We invite you to subscribe as well as follow us on Instagram at Bearing Birth Podcast.